Hi friends, welcome to the session on CPSM certification journey with Krishan. The key objective of this program, let me start, is to master the body of knowledge, to become strategic supply manager. Because when you say I'm a strategist, I'm not a technical guy, I'm not a reactive guy, I'm a strategic guy. That means you have to understand the body of the knowledge of complete supply management. But when it comes to succeeding in any exams, even in India also and abroad also, same story. The very first thing is you need to have a strategy to prepare. And I think much more with the American exam, if you don't have a strategy and you just go and sit in the exam, the chances of failure become much more. So you have to have a strategy. Second, I would say you need an advanced skills. That's why you must have seen CPSM expects everybody to have minimum 3 years experience and college degree around. So you need advanced skills, knowledge, and understand the end-to-end process. It is not based on cramming the subject around. I think we are used to in our own system, we cram it and the question comes, what is CIF? We answer it or we get full marks. Here it is not going to be the full marks until you know the application of CIF. If somebody poses a question to you, my ship is coming from Hong Kong, on the way ship is sunk, what should I do? And the input term was CIF. So this is where you have to know the application part. And then the next, if I say around, if I say exam one, there are 3 exams, as you know, CPSM. Exam 1 is all about procurement per se. Exam 2 is extension of procurement to cover other dimensions, like logistics, warehousing, project management. And exam 3 is all about your leadership and the risk management. Like in COVID-19, you've seen many risk management issues around, resilience part. So exam 3 is all about that. So this one today, which I'm walking through with you is mostly a procurement activity. Now, when we say this, I expect the program should help you the way I'm expecting now, and I want your feedback later, in gaining knowledge. Because we have 1 hour. I don't think I'll spend too much time on other issues because I have covered in my previous sessions around how to prepare, how to do this. My focus would be for you to gain knowledge and understanding all concepts of various competencies. Exam 1, if I talk around, there are 7 competencies. 7 competencies. And each competency has got its own sub-competencies. You may call task. For those who are reading the study guide, you must have seen that this is called task. 1A1, 1A2, 1A3, they're the task. So when it comes to the B could be a negotiation. So then I would say 1B1, 1B2, they're the task. And I would call as sub-competence. So you have to keep in mind, exam 1 means there are 7 competencies, 38 sub-competencies. So this is what it covers around. And along with that, I will try to cover, depending on the time, the strategy to prepare for exam. So in next 60 minutes, I'll walk through with you all concepts. Literally, I will walk through all the concepts, let me tell you. This is my own experiments around. I want to cover with you each and every chapter and the key points. And my interest would be that when you walk out of this program, you should understand the subject very well. And little bit I'll talk about the strategy as well. Okay, the objective I said to you, I'm focusing on 2 things. Gain knowledge and understand the key concepts of all modules. Preparing strategy to pass CPSM. Here again, I'll try to give 1 tip at least. Some people think I read 10 times, 5 times the book. The reading alone will not make you to pass the exam. Let me make very clear. Whatever you read, you should look back, stretch yourself back at the chair, guys. I read about the sourcing. I read about solicitation document. I read about Incoterms. What does it mean? How can I apply it? It's all application knowledge. If you're not understood the application, just understanding the definition has no meaning. That part I want to make it very clear. So this is why my focus today is for you to understand the concept. Now, second is obviously I'm trying to focus is strategy to pass CPSM exam. As I said in the very beginning, to pass any exam, you need a strategy. Now, these are online exams. While in the college, we are used to going similar question paper to all. Here, the question paper of each one is changing. And then someone could get very difficult question, the very first one. You come with all the preparations, but the first question is literally very difficult, and you're not able to make head and tail, and your mood is off. Once your mood is off, then you slowly start losing interest. So this is where, again, you need a strategy guy. Even if it becomes a bad question, move on and come back later on to the difficult question. So this is where I thought the two issues which I want to cover up, which could help you to pass the exam quickly. Now, about CPSM, if I just want to say around, I mean, you know very well by now, it's a globally recognized gold standard. It's given by ISM USA. And ISM USA is a 105 years old organization. It is the oldest and the largest in around 70 countries. We have ISM China, we have ISM Hong Kong, we have ISM Japan. So we have everywhere. And this is purely, I would say, truly for practitioners. It is not for academician. This is the books which you have got two beautiful books for each exams. One is study guide, one is professional CPA. If you feel you know the subject, then you can go with the study guide, each task by task. But whenever you find that you're not understanding the task, study guide is not the right book then go to professional story. Professional story is a wonderful book and you should keep it for the lifetime. It gives you very good clarity on the subject. So that's the one which gives you clarity. But if you know the subject very well, then you can say, guys, I can straight go with study guide, structure my exam preparation and go with the diagnostic. It's a practical one, very convenient, time efficient, high value pathway offered by USA. Then let me go back to the certification. The focus is strategic standard. It is not purchasing function, let me tell you. Yes, if you would have told me 30 years back, I'm doing only P2P, then CPSM is much more than the requirement, I would say. CPSM is all about strategic function. So the moment it has moved from purchasing to procurement, procurement to strategic management. So basically it covers the whole supply chain. It's a forward thinking because we have included in the new syllabus technology in a big way. Everybody's talking of digitalizing their procurement. So technology has been added in the exam 3. Relevant one, I would say, because all are application based. It's not abstract classroom theory. So we are covering a lot on next. And transportable being, this has reciprocity with many countries around, many countries knows it. All MNCs knows about this certification. So that way it is good. And in short, it is a milestone for those professionals who want to grow in their career. Now, the aim of the exams, if I talk around, literally tests your ability to link multiple concepts together. I might have read one concept of, let's say, sourcing. Then there's another concept I might have read about Peter Classic model 2x2 matrix. How do I combine the two? To work out my negotiation theory. So that means you have to combine multiple concepts together. And this is where I'll touch my base. Similarly, when I'm talking about the fixed order quantity, oh, I should buy a fixed order, so my price is less. The price may be less, but then the inventory carrying cost goes up. So that means you have to look at the cost saving you're bringing by a fixed order. Supplier gives you, I give you a discount of 10%. If your batch size is 10,000 pieces. But the moment you go with that batch size, your inventory level goes up, cost goes up, you need to compare the two things before you come with the size. So in short, you have to understand the concepts, link the concepts. And once you understand the concept, understanding the question is much easier. I know one of my friends said in the beginning, we have 1 minute per question. So if you have not understood the question, naturally 1 minute is too less. The time becomes less if you don't understand the concept. Time becomes less, I would say, if you don't understand the wording part of it. The wording is also sometimes confusing. But if you've done 2 or 3 times diagnostic kit, then you used to the right wording style, concept part, it becomes easier to absorb the thing around. So time is then better. The path to success, again, I'm saying assess, assess, assess. My request to you would be after today's, what I've covered around, go and assess yourself. Exam 1. Where do you stand? I'm confident that after listening all the concepts which I'm covering around, your score should go up. So your current knowledge, then try to find where are you strong, where you're weak. Where you're weak, you have to spend more time. So you have many tasks around in the exam. In exam 1, as I said to you, there are 38 tasks, 7 competencies. So look around which competency you are very good. Some may be very good on negotiation, full marks. Some may be good on sourcing, but don't understand the contracting part. So you have to find which area you're good or you're weak. We call as a SWOT analysis, strength, weakness, opportunity, threat. And the last is practice, practice, practice. Practice makes a person perfect. So there's no second thought. Your time management, if I'm doing first time, myself even, I will have difficulty. If I've done 4 or 5 times diagnostic kit, I'm able to do quicker. And I can do still quicker if I know the concept. If I don't know the concept, I don't know the wording, then certainly the time is very short. Coming back to this strategy part. Look around, there are 7 competencies. The very first is sourcing. Second is category management. Third is negotiation, legal and contractual. And the next is SRM, cost and price. Now, if you look around, 50 questions out of 165 are from sourcing. So that means 1/3, and at least 1/3 of the question, sourcing. If I'm good at sourcing, I'm doing for the last 10 years, I must get full marks in this. I don't want to skip even a single question. SRM, 43 questions. So if SRM is good, sourcing is good, and SRM to a lot extent is common sense, I will put it. With the concept of relationship, I think as an Indian, we all know very well how relationship can help us to get job done. Here, the same thing we are doing the relationship with suppliers. And then the category management, legal part. So the key areas, if you look around the legal, 21 questions, SRM, 43 questions, sourcing. These 3 areas, I think you should not skip it. You should be the master of all these 3. And many other areas are common sense. I'll try to walk with you. So this is where you have to make your strategy, which area you're good, where you're weak. If I'm weak on sourcing, then I cannot pass immediately. Let me be very clear. And I don't want you to schedule the exams until you get 80% marks. If you're not getting 80% sitting at home, and in the real exam scenario you go for it, then chances of success are less. So be very careful before you register. Be 100% sure that you're getting 75, 80% at home or in the mock-up test. Then you're ready for test. Okay, guys, this one I'll take one and then a straight jump into each task around. Evolution of supply management. This I want to touch very basically. Some of you know very well. If I go back 3 decades, 4 decades back, all companies were vertically integrated. Procurement was purely a support function. It doesn't require any professional knowledge. Let me be very clear. That's why many people in the good old days moved to procurement by accident. Some say, oh, we have an opening on this. Do you want to join us? Yes, we join. So you must be seeing, even I'm sure in your team also, there must be who came just out of accident. And that the function was purely compliance, compliance, compliance. Have you followed this rule? Audit will come and check. Have you taken 3 quotation? Is the lowest price? Then fine. So I would say the price was the focus. I know still price is the focus, but people are getting out of it. And in COVID-19, people have learned it. Just going with the price with one supplier, not keeping any other options around, has led us to stop the companies around. So if I go with the early 90s, the focus became from vertically integrated to horizontal. Outsourcing, outsourcing, outsourcing. Extreme example of outsourcing I will take is Apple company. They don't make themselves, but they manage the whole supply chain. So once you're doing outsourcing so much, who manages outsourcing? Supply chain people, procurement people, they're the one who are managing it. So once your company, 80% and 90% of the total spend is depending on you people, procurement and supply chain people, that means your role has changed. You're not no more a support function. You're a very important function. So once that type of role comes in, naturally, the importance goes up. Your linkage with the CEO becomes very important around. I mean, in the US, I find many people who came from procurement became supply chain leaders and become the CEO of the companies around. Now, next came was the globalization. And globalization was a wonderful idea. If you would have asked me 5 years back, even 1 year back, I would have said great ideas. But with globalization, complexities have also gone up, which recently we have noticed it. Not that the globalization is a bad, but we were all putting all eggs in one basket just to get the lowest price. Purchasing became supply. So the purchasing which was there 3 decades back, very technical function, became procurement. Then procurement became supply management. And now we're talking of digitalization. This is becoming strategic supply management. So supply management covers the whole chain. Now the role of supply management, if I look around, it went on expanding, expanding, expanding. Some of you think, I don't deal with category management, I don't deal with risk management, I don't deal with risk logistics, but having this, your function of many people have changed. So this is why the CPSM has added these activities around. And if I see the more of the spend on the supply chain is managed by a supply manager. If you look at the real definition of the supply chain, planning, sourcing, manufacturing, and manufacturing has been outsourced in many companies. Even the big auto company I see around, hardly 15%, 20% in-house, more of an assembly plant. So technically, they're all dependent on procurement and supply chain people. Or I would say they depend on supply manager. So you guys have become very important around. And now once we're getting into the strategic part, digital part, so it's automation we want to bring around, then it becomes strategic supply chain. I hope it sets a tone, the concept of supply management. So it is basically supply manager. Procurement is only one part of it. So it's a bigger thing around. Now let me start with the very first one, sourcing process. Please focus on this. This has got 50 questions and I will try my best to cover all the 10 tasks. You may say 10 sub-competencies. Main competency is sourcing with 50 questions. This one should be very easy for all of you. The game of sourcing starts from recognizing the need part. The need is very important. There's a word called wants also. I want this feature like you and me when we buy for the house. Your need is only this much. Even if I'm buying a computer, i3 can serve my purpose, but you want the latest version, i9, i7. Do you want to spend more money? Why? So you have to define your needs part of it. Then specs of the needs. Now here comes in the specs also, sometime if I'm looking as a purchasing person, I take the specs as it is. But if I'm looking with the eyes of the procurement guys, I start questioning specs. If I'm looking with the eyes of a supply manager, I say, guys, suppliers can give you this. Can't you change your specs around? And possibly this will help us to save 10%, 15%. So your role is changing. It's no more a reactive role. Now the search for potential suppliers, analysis of suppliers and proposals, negotiations, administering contracts, evaluation, disposal. I hope this part is very clear. This is a very basic thing which everyone should know, the whole chain part. Now here I'm going to go around with the sourcing. The very first task you could call assess stakeholder needs. This might be covered if you look at your study guide, might take 4 pages or 5 pages. I've tried to put in 3 bullets around. Right. First thing is identification of stakeholders. Who are your stakeholders? You must know it. Stakeholders inside, stakeholder outside. Outside could be your suppliers, or even the shareholders of the company also around. But internally, certainly my customers, my design guy, my production guy, they're all my internal stakeholders. Those stakeholders could help me if I can change the specs around. Second, you will find the word needs versus wants. I think this is where you guys have to become very smart enough. If somebody is writing too much cut and paste of his specs, that means the guy has just taken the cut. But then really, do you need all of them? What are the functional specs? Which are the performance specs? You really need to understand that. So this is where I'm saying purchasing is no more old function. It's becoming very professional function. Need a professional knowledge. So you need to look around what is needs and what is wants. If that's what you should be able to, and this you can help in changing the specs around. The third thing is the planning part, the budget part, operational budget, strategy. So the plan means you have to make your budgets. Every department, tomorrow you're the boss, you need to make a budget. Then we have operational things and strategy. Keep in mind, there are, in every activities around, there are 3 layers. If you draw the pyramid, at the bottom level is all my operational things, operational plan. Then we have a tactical plan and strategy. Now the operational plan is what I need to do so that my work does not stop. So that part is very, very important for the people to know that nothing stops around. So that part, I think you should be very clear. Now, somebody has said again the question on this needs versus want. Let me explain simple example around. My staff is doing only simple Word files, spreadsheet file. I want to buy desktop computers. I can get with the Intel chip of i3, which could serve my purpose. And the whole desktop system comes at a price of 30,000, 32,000. The moment I say, no, I want i5, I want i7, the cost goes to 65, 60. Now, do I really need to waste your money around? And particularly today is in the COVID time when companies are short of funds. So that's mean what are the needs and what are the wants? Wants is one thing. I want graphic, I want this, but do I really use it? So that's what it means. A very simple example which I hope all of can correlate. Next task is feasibility of internal customer request. So customer needs have come. So in the customer needs also we are trying to do that. And the technical considerations. If I'm trying to source it, where is my plant? What type of logistics can be used around? What is my organizational capacity? I've got only 2 people in the office. I'm expanding my role. And for I've got 100 suppliers and my 2 people are dealing, I will have difficulty. I have to look around my organization capacity also. And regulatory consideration. So that means before I get into sourcing, I suppose tomorrow you're the boss of the department. You have to see around, you can't say yes to everything. I know we are very used to it. People make jokes about India that people, always Indians, they never say no. We have to look at our feasibility of internal customer requests. If I get 100 requests in a day, can I cope up? If not, then ask for more people. Look around the regulatory consideration. Should not ignore it. Whatever you guys are doing, there are regulatory requirements also. And regulatory requirements, either from the audit side, either from the government side, you have to keep them. Nobody else is going to do it. So keep that in mind in this one. So we went through the very first one, stakeholder needs, feasibility of your own function, analyze the potential sources. Very important around supply base analysis. Some request comes to you. You've got a one supplier, is it good enough to create a competition? You need more people. Even the one may be the best one. But still, I would say you need to have list of more choices. So that's what you have to look around supply base, whether your supply base has got enough supply sources. I'm not saying that you should have multiple around, because then managing becomes very difficult, but you should have rationalization. Nature of sources. Am I having these suppliers of manufacturer type, distributor type? Some companies have only distributors. I've seen around. I can understand there's a limitation. If I'm buying medical supplies, my requirements are very limited. Manufacturer will not listen to me. He says, guys, your requirement is so less. You're only asking for 1,000 gloves, which is nothing. I won't deal with it. Better go to my distributor. I'll go to my agents around. So you have to be very careful, because with manufacturer, possibly you may get a good deal. So you have to look around your supply base. Is it 20% manufacturers, 40% manufacturers? Then try to see whether does it needs a change around. So look in that aspect. Existing versus new source. I have been to many companies. In a month, during the normal time, I used to travel around. At least 4 or 5 companies I used to visit every month. I could see the list of supply sources, the change is very less. Some companies are having 2,000 suppliers, and I tell them since when they are working around, 60 to 70% are going for the last 5 years, 10 years. New additions are very few. Maybe we are complacent. We don't want to try a new one. We are very happy with the old one, fine. But the new one could give you possibly more innovation, more innovative products around, or maybe better than others around. So that, I think, innovative thinking calls for building up new choices as well. The next come issues in global sourcing. I know sometimes we want to go into the global part, globalization, worldwide. We feel, oh, this country has got lower cost than us, let me import from there. But keep in mind the logistic issues, keep in mind the language barriers also. Sometimes you won't understand them, what they are saying. Their body language, their language, all those barriers could disturb your chain as well. The next comes method to process requirements. Now here I'll just go with 4 things around RFI, RFQ, RFP, ITP. And I expect honestly, every sourcing person should understand all these 4 terms in a depth. If you're not able to explain to a 5th grader all these 4 terms, that means you're not knowing the subject around. When to use RFI? What is the purpose of RFI? RFQ, when to use, where to use? RFP. So I would say whenever you're developing specs, I remember the case when I was heading as a director for the UN. So we were trying to implement, you can say, ERP system in 2005. We didn't have a knowledge of it. So what we did around was we went with the RFI, request for information from any possible supplier. Read the catalogs around, read the books around, get some understanding around. So basically it helps you to develop, before developing specs, I have a market knowledge a little bit, but they are not binding to any party. RFI does not make you binding neither to the supplier, neither to you. RFQ, RFP, ITP. RFQ means basically you have a specs are very clear And your selection criteria is price, price, price. Very efficient. I know many of you use it. RFP means you're looking solutions. Specs are not clear. So don't think that RFP is only for services. I can use RFP for goods also when I want to, I'm not very clear. I want choices. Same way with RFQ, I can also use for services if specs are clear. So the criteria, I'm not put the goods and service, I use the specs one. ITB is invitation to bid. This is in use in the government steel bidding. Price is the criteria around. The next is conduct analysis for outsourcing, insourcing. Now this is becoming very common and I have been a part of it. I would say in the 80s, when in the US we were trying to outsource everything. We were looking at the low-cost countries. And that time I remember everything we were saying, why should we do it? Let somebody else do it for us. We had our brand in the US, but the products, the raw material was coming from one place, stitching was done some other place, packing was done in some other place, and selling all over the world with our brand. So outsourcing versus insourcing strategies around. First thing you have to find feasibility part. I have a core function. There are three things around. Something is very core. Something is enabler. And third is ancillary. My core function is, let's say, activity around. If I'm working with a, let's say, mobile company or something, I'm designing my product. That's my core. I can't outsource my design. So that is the one I would like to keep with me. Assembly of it, I can outsource. Transportation is not my core function. I can say, guys, logistic also. But then there are ancillary functions like security services, cleaning services. You were running the cafeterias around. Why should I run it? Let somebody else run for us. Outsource it. So you have to identify what are the core functions of the organizations, which are enabling functions, what are ancillary functions. Enabling and ancillaries, I've seen some company running their own cafeteria themselves. Why? Why not outsource it? So in the process, you become slimmer, your problems become less, and you're able to change your organization much faster. So big is not beautiful always. Financial reasons to outsource. There are many good reasons to outsource. If I'm setting up a plant, I have to buy capital equipment. And capital equipments are very costly. If someone else can do for me some plastic components, make the headlight for me, I save my money, I save my working capital. So keep that factor in mind. So this is why in the good old days, we never talked about, we were always talking company in a vertical integrated way. Today we talk of tier 1, tier 2 supplier, tier 3 supplier. Everybody has a supply chain. Tier 2 also has got a supply chain. Tier 3 also has got a supply chain. So literally everybody in the chain has got a supply chain. Then next comes supplier is competitive issues. There is a risk. If I'm totally depending on outsiders, there could be possibility the same supplier is giving it to my competitor. And if he's passing on to my competitor my knowledge, there could be an issue around competition. The next is country analysis around. If I'm outsourcing it, the applicable law of the people, culture, and nowadays I would say government to government relationship also. If I want to outsource to a country which might be the cheapest one, but at the government level, geopolitical levels, because of the trade tariffs, this may not be viable. Last is post-audit. Sometimes it looks very good on paper, and I've outsourced it, but the type of problem I catch up, and I need more people to manage it, then I see, guys, oh, this is not worth it. Let me do in-house then. Then from out to in, we come back. So you have to measure the results around. So this is the one I thought. Next is identify and support technology to support supply management. Keep in mind that you need this. The key objective when I talk of technologies is to reduce the cycle time. Streamlining procure to pay. P2P. I expect that all of you got source to contract and P2P. P2P is a tactical function, and take my words, P2P in the time to come will become robotic process automation. So that means you guys who are in P2P should start moving towards strategic direction, reducing inventories, reducing transaction costs. So this is what we are looking from technology. Technology, I know people think that I got an ERP. ERP is okay. Then later on, this has changed, I would say. So simple ERP alone, you need e-tools around. You need apps around, e-apps around. So simple ERP is a wonderful tool, ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning. It connects the organization. But when it comes to procurement, this is not good enough. You need more e-tools. You need e-sourcing tools. You need ERFX. You need PO system. You need reverse auction. And if you want to become digital, then you need EDI, electronic data interchange. There's a lot of things around. So keep in mind, technology is evolving in a very fast speed. Spend analysis. You must develop your category tree. Today, I know each one is dealing with X item, Y item, and Z item. But maybe X and Y belong to the same tree. So do you have a taxonomy of your procurement? If you're not, I'm not saying that you have to build taxonomy for a small company, but those who are working with a big range of items, at least 4 digits, they must develop their taxonomy. One universal taxonomy, which is, I happened the chance to build it up, was UNSPSC, which is used in SAP oracles. But I'm not saying that you have to get that all the time, but you need to build your own taxonomy, which gives you a structure. Which is the main family? If I want to see, how much money I spend on the pen, paper, pencil, ultimately they all lead to the office supplies. So you have to draw the tree, which branch falls where. Spend cube part, 3 dimensions. You have to understand spend cubes. Which department of your company is buying this? And then which supplier is doing it? What you are buying? All the 3-dimension understanding is required. Leverage the spend. You cannot do sourcing strategy without leverage spend. Even in your own house, when your salary goes up or down, your expenses are also going up and down. So you always work it out where I can cut it down. You have A type spend, you've got a B type spend, you've got a C type spend. You'll say, guys, the A type spend, if I can cut down, impact is better. So without spend analysis, without leveraging spend, you can't do much of it. Opportunity assessment, potential of savings around, risk analysis. And the 2 things which I want each one of you to know is the Porter 5 forces. All of you should. I think it's easy to understand around, because the 5 forces which are affecting your business. You must have seen in COVID-19, many businesses are affected. Your strength, your buyer strength, your competitor strength, and the next one is also, I would say, around who are the one coming with a new product. Let's say I am the leader of making the lamps. If I would have got 10 years back, I was the leader making lamps and tube lights. But I never changed my technology. And someone overnight comes with LED, and I don't change to LED. What happened? Then my business is, I have to put a lock on my business. So keep in mind, the world is changing very fast. Change is constant. If you're not changing your product, changing your style, it can come to a standstill. Leveraging strategy. So whenever we are trying to leverage strategy, there are two ways to leverage it. One, you know very well, increase the volume. Supplier will come to you. Even we do also say, guys, if you're going 10 candidates, we'll give you a discount of this. If it is 5, we'll give you 2%. So we try to motivate people with a higher volume. Same case here. But you have to also keep in mind higher volume means there's a possibility your inventory level goes up. Your working capital is get blocked there. Interest rate is blocked there. So best price evaluation. At the end of the day, we are not looking at the lowest price, we're looking at the best price. Here comes this one, which I want every sourcing person should know it. We should always have spend on two axes, profit impact. So profit means basically, I would put it this way, the volume you're spending around. More you spend, more profit, it's a fixed number. And the risk is there. More choices available to me. If one does not behave well, I say, guys, bye-bye, I get another supplier. But if I got no choices, then my risks are very high. Only one supplier, monopoly supplier, sole supplier, my risks are very high. So you can always connect your all spend into 4 boxes. So we always say if you got 100 contract, let's say, put them into descending orders. Top 20 will cover 80% of your value. And the bottom 80 contracts will cover only 20% of the value. So those 20% will fall in the 2 first headings around non-critical, bottlenecks, and 80%, but number-wise 20%, will fall into strategic item and leverage item. And based on that, your approach strategy has to be different. Whether you're buying a pin or whether you're buying aircraft, your approach of procurement has to change. It cannot be the same methodology. Same rules and regulations will not apply. So keep that factor in mind. This has come the strategic sourcing process, which I know those who have moved from tactical to strategy. Some people call 7 steps, some people call 6 steps, some people call 5 steps. But same story, but we just combine few steps together, nothing more. The very first step of anything is, the word is strategy. So strategic means we are calling around okay, I would request if you can just mute it here. Okay guys, coming back to the strategic sourcing process. The very first thing is conduct opportunity assessment. Is what I'm spending around, I'm spending let's say $5 million or $10 million. Is there an opportunity to save something? Then I try to do my profile commodity. From where I buy, how much I buy, when do I buy, all that commodity profile I have to develop. Then I try to look around, has the market changed? I might have been buying from the same supplier for a long. So that's the way we look around. Then we develop commodity strategies, RFX, then I make a long-term agreement. And that we call source to contract, and followed by, that this becomes my S to C, source to contract. Friends, I'm moving a little faster because I know we are still a long way to go, but I'll surely try to cover everything. So I'll leave this PPT for you so you can read it. They are very self-understandable. Sourcing, there are other things around. Once you understood those, then solicitation process. How to make a bidding document. And then we are going to evaluate the competitive offer, understand the transport terms. You must understand transport terms. If you don't know, particularly those who are buying goods, not for services. For goods, Incoterm must be there, even if you're buying locally. Incoterm does not mean, the name is I know international commerce term, they can be used for domestic transportation also. Terms and condition as well. I know all of you have your own standard terms and condition, but you also have to play a key role in that. So this was the one which covered 50% question. I know it took a little longer time. Now I'll try to go other ones, category management. Now the word is moving from strategic sourcing upward to category management. Category management is very common in e-commerce business. You ask each one, I'm the head of this category. When you're head of a category, you are like a mini CEO. You're the one who decides the suppliers. You're the one who decides what is the stock going to be there around. You are looking into the profitability of the whole category. You are mini CEO of the category. So category is a grouping of materials or services that have similar characteristics. If I'm buying items which are of electronic nature, they belong to the similar family, come from the one same companies, some medical supply, I'll put them into one group. I'll call them as one category. So category, first you form a category. In the case of strategic sourcing, I was looking at item by item my spend. While in category sourcing, I'm looking at not item by item, I'm looking my spend as a category. Let's say if I'm the one I'm buying one items, which is electronic items, I'm spending around $2 million. My colleague goes to the same supplier, buys similar item from other ones. But if I combine the two, the volume becomes 5 million. I can negotiate better. I can get a better deal around. So that's what we call the category sourcing. So category sourcing is nothing but we work as a category approach, not as an item approach. But method of using is strategic sourcing. That's what we do. So category management, again, tools which are there. I think the bottom one you should look around. Category management looks much bigger than strategic sourcing. We have a mission, we have a strategy. Then I've got my tools which are used. Strategic sourcing is one child of the category, not the other way around. Category is a much bigger thing. It's a new evolution. Strategic sourcing is a methodology of sourcing, but category means I'm looking at a category in a big way. I also look into demand management. I look into supplier management. I look into contract management. That's why I told you, category manager is more like a mini CEO. So this is the way you can see this. If you look the whole chain, one side is demand, SRM, strategic sourcing is only one part of it. The total chain becomes category management. So that's what I would like that you should remember it. So these are two ones I have covered around 50 plus 10 questions. So it becomes 60 questions. Now let's move to the negotiation. When we talk of negotiation, you just can't go and sit on the negotiation. You need to plan what question to ask. You have to read through the offer. You have to understand the market. So that means the very first line, if you look around, negotiation is an exploratory and communication, both. Exploratory means you've done your homework. You have seen who are the other people who are supplying that and what price they are paying. What are my competitors paying for it? And the next is the communication, how you communicate. Both things are very important now. If you give a bigger picture that guys, once you do a good job, we will deal with you for the next 4 years. I make a contract with you, but give me a good deal. So communication and exploration. Just communication will not do. You go to the supplier, I know many procurement people, can you cut down the price by 10%? Why? Have you done your homework? So I think one has to do the exploration and then communication. Because once you've done some depth study of it, then you can do better. So pre-planning starts early in the sourcing cycles. Prepare and develop strategies and tactics. Strategies and tactics. Keep in mind when we do negotiation, the same thing like that when you are driving it, you make a home plan, I'll go this route, I'll go this way at this speed, I'll reach in 40 minutes. That's a strategy you made around. But on the way you find the roads are blocked, this is blocked. Then you have to find a tactics. Can I take a side cut? Can I do this? So you have a strategy which is a roadmap, but the life does not work like a roadmap. You make your own strategy for your own career, but things don't work like that sometimes. So you have to work out the tactics to reach the level of it. So here I would say you have to understand Your objective should be the fair price. Your objective should be delivery. Your objective should be the right terms and conditions. Your objective should be service level agreements. And decide where to do it. Never do in the buyer's place. You are the one who are paying money. So do at your own place. And you should have a good team who are doing negotiation. The guy should not be having that your team is contradicting each other, and then ultimately the objective is failed. The cost and price analysis. You must do supplier price analysis. Cost analysis. What is the cost of the supplier? Particularly for big volumes, the guy, can you tell me what is the raw material cost? What is the labor cost? What is your overheads? You have to get those. I know some item may be difficult, but some area it is possible. JOPA, joint of, wherever we have, but there's a zone of adjustments, price adjustments around. I'm giving X price, the other guy is giving Y price. Where do we meet? The guy says, I'll charge you $20 per piece. I say, I can't give you more than $14. Now, between 14 and 20, there's a gap. That gap has to be narrowed down. So, negotiation strategies, cultural factors. And the last is negotiation philosophies. There are different philosophies around. One philosophy is I have to win. I'm the big company. I'm the big boss. Whatever I say has to be accepted. The negotiation philosophy says win-win is the best one. Win-lose means you might win because supplier doesn't have a job. Supplier doesn't have any business around now. The guy may listen to you just to keep his shop floor ready, busy. But tomorrow when he gets more business, he may leave you. So keep in mind the best thing is win-win situation, not win-lose. And sometimes it becomes lose-lose because both of you are very fighter. Supplier is also a fighter, you are also a fighter. Both have egos, then you become lose-lose. So that's what you have to keep in mind. So this is where I've tried to show around in the graphic. So sometimes you have a concern for the substance, concern for relationship. If you feel relationship is very important, and you're also concerned with substance also, then try to do collaborate. But sometimes you want only relationship. Product is not so important around. Maybe this will help us in long term. You try to accommodate. But then you're looking at the defeat side. You want to be winner at any cost. You tell the supplier, this is the price, give me, otherwise out. So that's a different approach where you want to be win and lose approach. Coming back to the lead, conduct, and subordinate, your strategy will depend on negotiation. Now, different strategies around, sometimes you sit silent. Supplier say, tell me what price you want to pay. You don't reveal anything. You will only say, sorry guys, I'm not very happy with this. This is much above our budget, we can't afford it. So when you're not revealing it, it conveys different messages to supplier. And sometimes you reveal the optimistic situation, which might be more than the expectation of the supplier. And third could be the target position. Now I leave it to you which one to use. It depends on different scenarios. Summarize the negotiation, I would say start with the goals, prepare yourself, enter into conversations, analyze the first phase of the negotiation phase, conclusion, and then putting into documentation. I would put it this way, negotiation is a time-consuming process. You should do it only for the high values. If you feel you can persuade somebody, then I don't think you have to get into the very big negotiation. Persuasion is a part, subset of negotiation. I would say if you can feel you can persuade someone, go ahead. But if you feel the amount is very big, it calls for negotiation, then yes, go ahead. Now coming back to the next one, the legal and contract, which has got 21 questions and 5 tasks. So legal and contract is one competencies, but then there are 5 sub-competencies. Now those sub-competencies I'll try to walk through with you. The very first one, manage preparation of the contracts. Now, I know many of you will say, guys, we get the ready-made contract. Some people think, oh, I got a purchase order. And this question I ask all the time, many people. Is PO a contract? I can tell you 60% I have seen around people say, yes, PO is a contract. I say, you give me a PO and I don't do anything. Can you do any legal? No. PO becomes a contract when I accept it. So this is where I'm trying to say around elements of the contracts are, there has to be an offer, there has to be an acceptance. If something is not accepted, purchase order is an offer. Until there's an acceptance, and then there has to be consideration. There has to be money components. Free thing has no contract. Even sometimes we hire consultant, we say, oh, you work on a pro bono basis. Pro bono also contract means it has to be 1 rupee or $1. Zero means no contract. Technically, legally, no contract at all. Competencies, capacities, and legalities. Competent means the guy who is signing it, is it competent? Competent means the guy is not a minor guy. Less than 18 and signing a contract, not competent. In the court, they'll say, guys, this was not signed by the right person. Capacity means if you can prove the person who signed the contract is not good in mental shape. And legality means the contract has to be legally acceptable. You can't make a contract to kill someone, guys, I'll pay you if you kill someone, and smuggle the drugs around. So those are illegal things. So those which are not legally allowed are out. So these 5 components, everybody should know it. Then there are different types of contracts. Fixed price, very common. Less problems around. Second is cost reimbursable. But fixed price also I won't use if I'm thinking of a crude oil. You know the way prices went down. I will never do a fixed price for 6 months or 1 year. If prices goes up, yes, I'm gainer. But if it goes down, I'm a loser. So you have to think around the game around. Cost reimbursable. So whatever it costs you, I'll pay you. And then there's a time and material, which is it. So fixed price, cost reimbursable. Then there's another one is a hybrid one, time and material, which we use for consulting. Sometimes we have service agreement, master purchase agreements, all of those things. Consideration for contract. So whenever you're doing contract, keep in mind there are intellectual properties. Very likely should be covered. Each one of you should know it. Because if I had to cover intellectual property, it will take the whole 1 hour. So I want that each one of you should know it and how to cover it. Payment terms, insurance, indemnify. Insurance and indemnify are 2 must, I would say, in today's world. You want to be indemnified yourself if anything goes wrong. Your contractor is working in your plant, and the person who's working, something wrong happens. So you have to indemnify yourself. Insurance. If someone is using some activities, could disturb your building around, your machines around, you need them guy to cover it. Terminations. Force majeure. This became very popular in COVID-19. Everybody thought, well, because force majeure means you can go scot-free under 2 situations. If it is an act of God or people. So whatever happened in COVID-19, they say, oh, no, I can go force majeure. I'm not accountable for delay. You can't force me anything. So keep in mind this force majeure need to be very careful. Limitation of liability. You can't, if you're giving a contract of $100, you can't make me a penalty of $10,000. So limitation of liabilities, supplier always want. Warranties and liquidated damages. So please, all of these terms, you should be very careful. So when it comes to requirement documentation, SOW, statement of work. So whenever you're doing services, you should know how to write SOW. You should have a format for that. Then specifications, service level agreement, the quality of service. So whether I want to do with internet connection, I allow them, guys, if it is drop is there more than 1 hour in a year, I'm going to charge you. So that's SLAs, we work it out. Award contracts, Who's awarding? Who's the person who's signing it? Whether digital signature, I'm not worried about it, but who's the one? Authority is there or not? Notice of awards. I know many of the private companies, they don't tell the notice. Public sector, yes. Government sector, yes. Debriefing is there. But sometimes supplier make a protest that I was not given a fair chance. In private sector, not much. In some companies, they do it, listen to it. But public sector, yes, if the protest comes, you will not proceed until the protest has been resolved. Legal and contractuals administer the contract. So there's the two words, legal, contractual part. So the legal part I have covered already around. Now the contractual means managing the contract. So there are two things. One is managing, other is administration. Administration, as the name indicates, is very bureaucratic. You're administering the contract. And contract management is a much bigger game. It is very strategic. This one is very tactical. Process developments. Contract management is a much bigger holistic view. I even look at the supplier performance, I look around supplier relationship, I learn the lesson from the contract. Administration is very narrow focus, going dot by dot, step by step. Have you done this? This was supposed to be done on this date. Payment has been made or not. Purely administration. Legal and contractual, if I go further, legal aspects, what are the law of the agencies? You're buying from a distributor. So that I'm calling agencies. And what is the relationship of that? So the relationship of that agency with the principal might have given the business to agency to get business, not to sign the contract. So we have to be very sure when we're dealing with third parties. Role of the legal counsel, I know many big companies have a legal counsel, but they're more of advisory nature. The responsibility is still with procurement and supply manager. So you are the one who have to tell around, guys, I have only one supplier, but I'm doubtful this supplier will deliver. I have no choice. I want to pen down all my risk into the terms and conditions. The legal guy will help you to draft it. Nothing more than that. So legal, as the name indicates, they are basically counsel, they are advisors, but responsibility is yours. Delegation of authority. Now, in case of e-commerce, obviously we have e-signatures. Keep in mind the data is very important around. Data should not get out of the company. If supplier comes to know or someone comes to know, customer comes to know the data has been sent out, they can file a case on you, and nowadays it's a very big penalty. Europe, it is much bigger. It's a crime. So environmental issues you have to look around. Whatever you guys are buying, where's the waste, pollution, resources, may not be at your level, but from where you buy, if they are creating a pollution, that also could damage your product, because then your product is not environmental friendly. So small businesses, we have to give support to the small SMEs, small medium enterprises. Transparencies, everything should be very transparent. Antitrust means I'm giving business to my own companies. I've got a big enterprise, I've got 10 companies around, each one give business to each one, not giving a chance to compete. It's anti-competition. Anti-corruption also, and labor laws. The company should not be using child labors to make the shoes and then you are selling the shoes for them. So you have to be very careful. These important parameters are very important. So you have to visit the supplier, you have to look around. Generate and follow supply management process to ensure compliance. So I would say you have to follow it to manage all those things around so nothing goes wrong. Next one, we are moving into the very big chapter again, 43 questions, 11 tasks. Now, when I talk of SRM, so let me start with a very simple thing. Supplier relationship management. Again, I said in the very beginning, it's more like a common sense. Many people are very good networkers, you must have seen in the life. They have friends everywhere. And they know how to get the job done also. Some are very bright people, but they can't get the job done. So at different levels, up, down, layer, wherever you talk around, some people are quick, they know how to manage it. They may not be the sharp people, they may not be the smartest people, but they are smart in managing people. So relationship, relationship, relationship. Now this concept was not very popular if I go many years back. It was more popular in the Asia, and Japanese were the first one to tap it up. And obviously the culture of the East is same. And the West culture was hire and fire. There's nothing like a relationship. If you're doing a good job, you are mine. If you're not, bye-bye. While in the Asian culture, we have relationship very important around. It's the same concept, we use it in with supplier also. SRM calls for strategic planning and managing the interaction with supplier. So we looked around, what are the obstacles around? So these are the answers came around. So different issues around, so it gives you broad idea there are risks and obstacles in this. Now comes SRM. Supplier, first thing is when you're doing a relationship, you don't want to do a relationship with the naughty guys around. You want a good suppliers. That factor is very clear. You're always known by your friends, families, circles around. The type of bad circle you have around, it may affect you. So same way in the company, you want good suppliers as part of you. That's very important. Good supplier, innovative supplier, quality conscious, who take care of law, all compliance issues around. Supply chain mapping. So look at the map of all the suppliers. What are they doing around? Some may not have anything, except they buy from one and then sell to you. So quality system they have or not, logistics system they have or not, financial analysis is good or not, requirement supplier evaluation bias. So do a good homework before you hire anyone. Because they are going to stay with you. Once they become part of your chain, I know it's very difficult to get rid of them easily. So I think be very careful to select them. And keep in mind the contingency. You have got only one choice. You know very well you're not very happy. But the business has to go on. In that situation, make contingency plan. You might be having one supplier, but there may be someone who is very low in the quality wise, but then you can help them to grow up. So you need to make the business continuity plan. So if I look at the relationship, I might have 20,000 suppliers. I'm not going to have same relationship with all 20,000. I need to segment my supply. So this, I've got a data of 25,000. The very first thing I'll do is segmentation. I'll divide all my supplier into 4 boxes. Then I'll think around governance mechanism, the strategy part. These suppliers are very critical. I'll follow this approach. These suppliers are low risk, low values, different. So my governance mechanism is different. Then I start looking at the performance of each one. Then I find these suppliers are very good, sincere, hardworking. They listen to us, but they have a limitation because they are not able to buy a good machine. They are not able to buy a computerized machine. Maybe I can help them in developing the supplier, and you develop your loyalty for a long time. You develop the trust also. So supplier development can help you. So this is where we look around segmentation. Governance means the strategy to manage it, performance of them, and supplier development. But if you find even after doing all this, they are useless supplier, then the time has come to get rid of them. You don't have to keep the bad apple with you. They'll spoil others also then. So then you have to think of exit strategy for them. Because they're not time conscious, they don't deliver in time, they're not quality conscious, they do unethical practices around. You don't want them to be linked with them. Steps are definition of strategy. Very first thing is strategy. Evaluation criteria. Collect and analyze the performance reports. Keep in mind, performance reports is based on KPIs. Measure, report and share performance data. Conduct review meetings. Report and track this. Review and reset goals. You might have put a very high goal, but the guy is not able to cope up. Then you have to rechange it and do it right. The relationship which you could have is a long spectrum. You can see adversarial one-time relationship. I have to go and buy one washer. I have to buy oil one time. Adversarial relationship. I'm not looking for a long-term relationship. The next come arm's length. Keeping like it's in COVID-19, keep some social distance, and we have some relationship. We know the face of each other, but we're keeping at arm's length. Then we start becoming transactional. We become closer. And the last one is becoming my partnership, alliances, partnership, and co-destiny. Co-destiny means I was not happy with partnership. The guy was leaking out my information. My secrets were going to my competitors. Then I started making in-house. So co-destiny means I set up my own company, another one, and become my co-destiny. So you can imagine the duration short in this case. In this case, my duration of my relationship is long. Trust is very high on this side. Trust on this corner, the left, is very low. Communication is negligible on this side. Here I'm keeping open communication. The guy can call me anytime. Problem solving, we do joint together. So the moment we move from left to right, your relationship changes. That's what we're trying to say. Segmentations, as I said to you, we put them into 4 boxes around based on cost and risk. So this one gives you the 2 parts around segmentation. My 20% of my suppliers might be falling into this, the other one on the right side. And this is where I'll focus on SRM. If I've got 20,000 suppliers, my 4,000 suppliers, it falls into this. They cover 80% of my spend. So I'll use SRM, and on the left side, I will use only the contract manager. I have choices. If one supplier doesn't do a good job, I change the supplier. So you have segmentation to strategize your approach of relationship. That's all. Because you can't maintain relationship with everyone. So you have to be very careful where to keep arm's length and where to become real buddy. So that's the area. So segmenting, this is one typical example. I took it from one company who I think did in India also. So it showed they basically use ABC philosophy. And then they also came with a relationship, the one which I'm taking. This is from the one company we took it over. So the type of relationship changes with the C++. So same thing, I tried to put the real one which was done by a company. Effect of relationship. Supplier perception of your company. You are talking about supplier, but supplier also talks about you. You're talking about your staff, staff also talks about you. It's a two-way relationship. So how supplier perceives you as your company business. Supplier says, okay, I'm doing business with this company because I have no other business, but they don't like you. Your paymaster is very poor. You don't pay in time. So if you want them, then be a good customer. Similarly, when the perceptions are medium to high, then try to develop partnership. If supplier loves you, then dominate the relationship, but be fair and reliable. They may be liking you because you're paying double the price in the market. You say, guys, these guys are dumb and they are paying me double the price. They love you. So dominate the relationship, but be fair and reliable. That's what we do. Here comes supplier development, supplier development. Some places you will find you would like to develop supplier because you want them to be your extended arm. You don't want to go to a big company who doesn't care for you, who doesn't listen to you. But you want to develop a supplier who cares for you, who changes his production based on your requirements. So that means development means you to identify the critical products, identify some critical suppliers. You can help them on technology side. You can help them through getting some equipments around. So you become more like a partner, I would call it. Now next come in SRM is conduct performance. So you are conducting factor used to analyze supplier's ability to perform, evaluate changes, Then supplier evaluation methods. You can always evaluate by scoring with the weighted points, category ones, cost ratios. Wherever I have seen around, some people put down 40, 50 points, but then there's a weightage for each one. For some, financial is very important around. For some, technical is very important around. For some, delivery is very important around. They give a higher weight and then work it out. Other methods are not used much. I think people still go with the weighted points around. Conduct regular business review of suppliers. You need to do regular review with suppliers. You can't close your eyes because your future of the company, your quality, your delivery, your image depends on suppliers. You think of any big companies. Apple is a $2 trillion company now. Their name and image is all about suppliers. I know design is there, marketing is there, supply chain is there, but supplier. So you cannot ignore it. So you need to segment it, schedule the criteria around participation at different levels, depending on the requirements part. Sometimes could be at the very top level, sometimes could be at a junior levels around. You need to do it. Think of company like Dell and you are buying chips from Intel and there's no other competitor to supply you, no other suppliers. You will need regular interaction with Intel on a regular basis. Location and documentation. So location means sometimes you should go and visit them, sometimes they should visit you, they understand each other, and everything should be documented. That's very good. So SRM, again, rationalizing suppliers is also very important. Some people have got too many choices. For one item, I've got 5 suppliers, but then they say, guys, I don't get a good deal, I don't get a good price. Instead of 5, can I make it 2? Or can I make it 3? Sometime back, I would have told you make it 1. But now after COVID-19, I'm worried that if you put all eggs in one basket and that supplier troubles you, you come to a standstill. So you need to rationalize supplier. Which suppliers we need? Which supplier need us? It's a two-way traffic. You need a supplier, but supplier loves you or not. You love them to have you as part, but they don't like you. So you have to work it out, which area and how to build it up. You need to prioritize supplier, identify risky suppliers, identify critical suppliers. And for each one, you need a different approach, different strategies around. So this is why SRM is a very critical function and mostly done at the very senior level. Lastly, in the SRM is you've done all the good things. You've developed the supplier, you've given right hand, but the guy is still lazy, slow, not interested. And that's the time you have to think of bye-bye. To exit a relationship can be more difficult, particularly if they have your toolings, you are given the money to buy some equipment around. So sometime what I have seen around, in some town I went around, there are suppliers based in the local. All the local suppliers which I saw around 15, 20, they are hiring the local guys. If I say bye-bye to them, I lose my goodwill in the local society. The local village which has given me the land in the past to set up a big plant, the villagers will say, guys, no, you're not giving business, neither you're giving job to our people. So there are sometimes those factors as well. So you have to draw a line between the two. Okay, guys, that covers my SRM. Now we are left up with 2 more: cost and price management, only 4 tasks. So the top heading is cost and price as a, you could say, skill, and the 4 subtasks are there, 18 questions. You have to think of this. I think every procurement person should be good at. That means you should be able to know the cost savings. Where is the potential of savings around? One is called cost avoidance, one is called cost containment. So avoidance means I'm doing negotiation, but the real benefit is still not come. But at the end of the day, they want to see the proof is in the pudding. Guys, does it make savings? I say saving will come, but when will the saving come? That's the issue around. Value analysis, value engineering. So you guys have to think around here. Can I change the material of this? I'm using brass. Instead of brass, can I use some other plastic material around which could be molded, cut down the cost? So think of value analysis, value engineering with the help of your design and supply. You are the link between supplier and your design. So suppliers will give you beautiful ideas. If you make this change, this could cut down the cost. So value engineering is done on the drawing board. Value analysis is normally done by procurement or supply chain. So cost modeling. If I know the parameter which makes the cost, I can do the modeling part and find out this. The next one is total cost of ownership. It is not the cost, which is only 15%. Hidden cost is very high. I've given you example of a pump here. Think of a car you're buying. One car may be economical, but the running cost may be very high. Maintenance cost may be very high. Operation cost may be very high. So the saving which you might be comparing with X and Y may be over in 3 months. So there's a hidden cost. So total cost is the combination of all. The next comes cost-based analysis. Direct cost, like direct labor, direct material. Indirect cost you could call as an overhead, variable cost. So depending on the cost, might not fix this because depending on the volume, my cost goes up and down. Carrying cost, transportation, and this. If I'm carrying more inventory, there is also cost. There's another one called should cost. Should is based on your parameters. Everybody knows, I know in the good old days, we used to have industrial engineering. They'll say, guys, what is the standard time to do this? What is the standard material for this? And add those items together with the help of cost modeling, and you come with a should cost. Should cost me, this is what should cost me. And top of it, I'll put my margin and then sell. Target cost mean what it costs you, nobody cares. If I want to sell a laptop of a similar type, and the market price is around $800, $850, if I say I want to sell at 1,000, nobody will buy. So the target is already fixed. So you have to work backward. If you can't do it, then you have to think of a different way. Whether better you stop the activities around. Because market has said that they will not buy more than this price of a competitive product, I'm saying. So the target means the market decides that this is the price. And even the overheads, normally I remember the time, the target activity we used to do around, we used to put across the board 30% overheads or 40% overheads. But then the guy says, why should I have same uniform overheads? One activity requires more overheads, another activity requires less overheads. So we should do activity-wise costing. Nowadays, the culture is becoming lease buy. It's very popular. I need a machine. I know one guy sent us a problem statement sometime back. He says, I'm having a lot of requirements and my existing production cannot cope up. I want to buy a machine. It cost me around $2 million. And I don't think I will need more than after 2 years. So what should I do? Then lease is another approach around. I can lease it for a particular period and then buy. So you could think of a capex for a short period, operative lease. And I could go into the financial lease where assets is on my lessee book. I'm taking on a lease, but then I can take the depreciation also. Operative lease means I can't take what we call as that's one. And so I cannot take that benefit. Nowadays, another thing is costing lease on buy analysis around on this one we call wet lease, dry lease, normally used for aircraft. Nobody owns the aircraft around. They're all on lease. So the lease means if I want with maintenance and oil, I'll call them wet lease. So my plane is also filled by the oil from whom I'm taking on the lease. Dry lease means only the plane, but the maintenance is done by us, and oil also by us. So this is how we work it out. So factory for lease, Factors for leads around interest rate, you have to look. Technology part, if technology is changing too fast, technology life is only 2 years. You say, guy, if I spend money on capex, on capital equipments, then after 2 years I have to dispose this. Why not I take it on lease? And next is insurance part. Then I have to cover a lot of insurance around. So who will do the insurance? If I'm taking on a lease, my insurance lease company will do it or I will do it. It depends on the type of lease. I think this culture is picking up, not to that extent as we see in the Western countries. I've seen around in the Western countries, everybody buys a car and after 1 year, 2 years, they change the car. Because everything is on lease. They pay EMI and then after 2 years, they say, guys, I'm fed up with this. Change the car. So that's a way, but I'm sure that culture is also coming here. Spend analysis to determine the strategy for category. The spend data, the cost baselines, identify opportunity and negotiation. So whenever you're thinking of a cost saving, the cost saving ideas will come from spend. Like I said to you in the very beginning, at your own home, you might be buying thousands of items. You're not going to look around saving at every pin and pen. You're going to look at the big, high ticket items. So when you're told about saving, you look at the high spend item, cost baseline, and then looking at opportunity and negotiating, and segmenting the supplier as I explained earlier also. Track and validate cost saving. You might be saying I have done saving of so much, but finance does not agree. I mean, I can understand around is a very important responsibility. So cost reduction is a cost saving, while cost avoidance is soft saving. Cost reduction is a hard saving, I would say, I can show. While in the case of cost avoidance, it's difficult to quantify. You might have told the supplier, don't increase the price. So in one way, you're trying to do soft savings for the future, but difficult to quantify, it's intangible. So you may find some question on cost avoidance and cost reduction. Governance part. In some companies, supply managers, they manage it themselves and they share the information every month to the top management, internal stakeholder. What savings they're bringing around. I've seen the companies where procurement people or supply chain people are saying, the saving is more than the cost of my department. So I'm not a burden on you. I'm a profit center. So that type of approach I also have seen around that improves the credibility of your department. You say, guys, I'm not a burden on anyone. I'm saving so much that my cost of the department is less than that. Reporting. You need supporting information system, you need metrics, and the last is audit and verification. Who does the audit and verification? Finance. At the end of the day, finance has to agree that what you are showing, saying around saving, is it real or is it only blah blah? So that's what they do. So that I think completes my cost part. And the last one, quick one, financial analysis. 9 questions, 3 tasks. Prepare, administer, supply management. This one I still have to see honestly. I've been in India now for the last 8-9 years. I've been to many companies. Supply management people don't do much of budget part. I've seen big companies, the budget is only what is going from the finance. You only add 5-10% here and there. But we don't prepare ourselves. It starts with preparation and administration of the budget. So I expect this change will happen. Budget is a financial plan for a year. You also need budget for what you're going to buy. But that will only happen when your customer gives you a yearly plan. We need so many goods, services, and the department. And tools for controls. So if you want to have budget, one is for your own department. Then what type of goods you're going to buy, what services you're going to buy. If last year I spent around, say, $100 million, and this year I want to spend $200 million, I need more resources. So I should know in a 1 year time, before in advance, because I have to build the team, I have to select the team. You need all that together. And this very rarely you find not happening around. Steps in budgeting: review the goals and objective alignments. Define the resources, what you need. Obviously, every function needs people, needs equipment, and training of the people. Nowadays, training has become must because skills are becoming obsolete very fast and you have to upgrade, upskill all the time. And to upskill means training. And then you have to work out the monetary values, present the budget for approval and variance. If there's a variance from the last year, is it on the positive side or the minus side? So that has to be justified. Types of budget. You may find some question, I would say, every time there's a one question on zero-based budget. That means the concept of last year my cost was, I had 20 people, my budget was so much, my procurement was so much. No, this year my procurement has gone down, I'm still having 20 people. Why? So they say, guys, no, you will start with zero base, mean clean slate. Clean slate means you are first time setting up your office. Tell me how many people you need, what level you need, what is the cost, and justify it. So don't take me in the last year figure and then tell me, okay, if there's no growth, I will also not grow. So that's the way we work it out, zero-based growth. Then we have a line item by line item. How much will be on travel, how much on training, how much on this. That's the way around. Some people follow very simple approach, head counts. How many people at this level, how many people at this level, how many people at this level. Per person rate is so much, and that's it. So it depends on the size of the companies around. But zero-based budget is becoming very popular. So nowadays. Next is develop financing and leveraging strategies around. How can I leverage it? How can I improve the cash flow? Let's say I'm buying now and I have to pay as per my payment term after 30 days. And that's a time company does not have a cash. Cash position is poor. They have to take a loan. Interest rates have gone up. So you have to ensure your cash flow as per the payment term should match with finance guidelines. You cannot just go on placing orders and immediately, and then you find after 1 month telling suppliers, sorry, we can't pay you because we have cash crunch. So it's good that you should deal with your finance guys in advance. Then depreciation part, import-export quotas around, cooperative purchasing. This culture has not come but has come up in the Western countries. I've seen even 2 or 3 auto companies buying together from the same supplier. I'm buying brakes from X company. My friend in another company is also buying brakes. I'm buying 1 million pieces. Other guy is buying 500,000 pieces. We join together, become 1.5 million pieces. We negotiate better. We get a better deal. As I place my order separate, they place their order separate, but we negotiate together. So that type of approach is required. Interest rate, if it goes up, the moment market interest goes up, as a procurement person or supply chain person, I have to ensure my carrying cost should go down. I should not buy big inventories. If interest rate goes from 8 to 12%, and a batch size I'm buying like last year, I have to cut down the batch size. My inventory level should become lower. Because otherwise my carrying cost goes up. But I don't want to become so lean that if any shock comes like COVID-19, I have to stop it. I need to have some buffer. So payment terms. If I want to give discount, I've got surplus funds. I say, guys, okay, instead of 30 days, I'll pay you in 15 days. Can you give me discount? Fine, if it makes sense, great, go ahead. Product life cycles. If your product, the one for whom you might be having many type of products in your company, mix. Some are in the growth phase. Some are in the declining phase. When they're in the growth phase, you want ensuring supply at any cost. You don't want to annoy your customer. If the product is in a declining stage, the same way when the young people and the older people, when they're coming at the declining stage, you look for a low cost. So your mindset is different. Currency markets manage risk due to fluctuation. If you feel the currencies I'm buying from abroad, dollar is becoming stronger, euro is becoming stronger, a yen is becoming, then you have to think around how do I manage it. Finance may not tell you, but then you have to go and tell them I'm going to spend so much, but then fluctuation rate, work with them, hedging and all this. Equity investments, I know this concept is not there, but this makes sense because some companies, suppliers are like your baby. Your company like a mother company. They are the kids around you and they work for you. So if supplier also, if you can invest in the suppliers and supplier becomes, and you become the shareholder, supplier become more trustworthy, more loyal to you. You will find quite a lot of this thing in Japanese companies around. So that could be one approach. Lastly, but not the least, verify that sufficient reporting exists to ensure compliance. You have to keep in mind, compliance is becoming very important nowadays task. You might have done many long-term agreements. Keep those records. You might have done lease. Keep those records. And there are some other legal requirements around if your company is listed in the stock market. There are other requirements as well. So this is one I thought. With this, I want to again thank you. Before I thanking, I think let me give one practical example around. Don't panic when you go in the exam. Particularly when you find some people is a personality of each one. They have worked very hard and the very first two questions are very difficult. Be cool. Go on and flag the question. Come back to them. At the end of the day, one thing I've seen in all these questions, I know all of you are damn smart people around. Out of 4 choices, you will find 2 are nothing to do with that question. Easily I can tell you. If you read the question very clearly, you will find 2 have nothing to do with the question. 2 are just very close to each other. So either your knowledge of understanding the question, understanding the concept part. If you understood the concept, then you can narrow down. Worst scenario, you have a choice. Out of the 2, who knows? Probability is 50-50, am I right? So don't lose it. Don't leave any question unanswered. Prepare the flashcard, which I think as an Indian, we all know very well. When we used to go to school and colleges, we used to make small notes around. And that flashcard helps you. Technically, what I have done today in my presentation, I have made a flashcard, honestly, if I tell you. For the whole exam 1, in 44 slides or 43 slides, I've tried to make the flashcard. You know, you might have seen 1 hour before exams, 1 week before exam. If you can go through all these points for the exam 1, once this is over, you can keep this copy with you. And if you feel you can answer all the points, then mean your concept ideas are very clear. If not, go back. So these are the one I call the flashcards, summary notes. So these 44 slides are the complete summary notes of the whole 350 pages of study guides. Theory versus practice. Obviously, here we're talking of all application based. So whatever you read in the books around, try to see how we can apply it in life. Time management, yes, I know it's very tight, 1 minute per question. As I said to you, this becomes very practical. If you're done 3-4 times the diagnostic kit, you get used to the languages. Sometimes question will be with except, sometimes question will be with not. And we are not used to that type of style of question. Let me be very honest with you. Nobody reads the question with a not. Nobody reads the question with except. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'll take 1 or 2 more minutes, then we can have questions if any. So keep this in mind. And again, last thing I want to talk about this one is, one question came in the very beginning. You got 8 books around with you, package of 8 books. Study guides helps you to structure your preparation. But if you're not understanding the subject, then go back to the professional series. So professional series are more like your textbook. Let me make it. Diagnostic kit, and then on top of it, we have online test also available. So once you're done this, because when you do a diagnostic kit sitting with a cup of tea and time is not the constraint, you get 90%, 100%. Or then you say, oh, I'm the smartest guy, let me go for exam. But then when you come to the time constraints, your performance goes down. So I would say do on a real-time basis. We have online available, so you can do that. And then there's another one book also you have on terminology book, glossary of terms. I think it's good to read sometime to understand the various terms. Lastly, but not the least, I think this will be available to you online. So this could become the whole slides, all the slides around your flashcards. You could improve on it, I'm not saying that. So that's the way I would take it. And with this, I want to thank you all and wish you a very good luck in your CPSM certification journey. Friends, keep it up.